Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the sun-drenched, marble and dust-covered heart of ancient Rome. Close your eyes for a moment. You're standing on the Via Sacra, the Sacred Way, feeling the oppressive midday heat radiating up from the cobblestones. The air is thick with the smell of sweat and a dozen different spices you can't quite name. You can hear the distant, continuous roar of a crowd, a low, rumbling sound that's as much a part of the city's lifeblood as the Tiber River. This isn't the Rome of whispered prayers and shadowy temples. This is the Rome of the people, the place where life and death are a public spectacle, and the line between the two is razor thin. It's a place where you'd be a little sweaty, a lot confused, and probably wouldn't survive long enough to figure out the subway system. I mean, the aqueducts are an engineering marvel, but good luck finding a decent bathroom. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know what time it is, where you are in the comments, and where in the world you're winding down for the night. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're a citizen of Rome, but not the kind who wears a flowing white toga and debates philosophy in the Senate. You're a part of the plebs, the common folk, and your daily life is a grind of long hours and meager pay. But you have one thing no one can take away from you. And it's the very thing that keeps your stomach from rumbling too loudly, the promise of entertainment. Your social contract with the powerful elite is a simple one. They provide you with enough bread to live and with extravagant games, the ludi to distract you from how little else you have. This isn't a leisure activity. It's a political necessity, a carefully orchestrated machine designed to keep the masses docile and the powerful in power. You're a part of the populus Romanus, the Roman people, and you have your needs. But the emperors and the wealthy elite, they have their own more pressing need to keep you happy. Or at the very least to keep you from rioting. They know that a hungry mob is a dangerous one, but they also know that a bored mob is just as bad. So they offer you both panem et circenses, or bread and circuses. It's a phrase you hear all the time, a casual shorthand for the deal you've all made. A common historical fact is that this phrase was coined by the satirist Juvenal, who lamented the Roman people's apathy toward political power, noting their singular desire for food and games. It's the ancient equivalent of saying, just give them Netflix and pizza, and they'll be quiet. The circuses, however, are a far cry from a night in front of the TV. They are brutal, elaborate, and unbelievably expensive. They are a display of power, wealth, and cruelty on a scale that's hard to wrap your modern mind around. Imagine walking past the great Colosseum, its massive arches looming over you. It's a building that even today makes you feel small and insignificant. But in its prime, it wasn't just a building, it was a symbol. It was a monument to the state's control over life and death. The gladiatorial games, the animal hunts, the public executions, these weren't just for fun. They were object lessons. They showed you what happens to enemies of the state, to criminals, to those who dared to defy the powerful. They reminded you of the glory of Rome, the strength of its empire, and the ultimate futility of rebellion. You see a man being led away in chains, his head down, and you know exactly where he's going. The roaring crowd in the distance is his judge, his jury, and his executioner all in one. You're a Roman, and you love the games. You can't help it. It's in your blood, it's what you've grown up with. You have your favorite gladiators, the ones you cheer for, the ones you bet your last few sesterces on. You know their names, their fighting styles, and their records. They are the celebrities of your time, the heroes of the arena. But the funny thing is, you also know they're slaves, or at the very least they're men who have been sold into a life of brutal training and an almost certain early death. A lesser-known fact about gladiators is that some, though a small minority, were actually free men who voluntarily joined a gladiatorial school, selling themselves into a contract for a specific period. They were often in desperate need of money or perhaps seeking fame and glory. For a brief moment, they had the chance to transcend their station to become someone you'd scream for from the stands. Of course, the reality was a bit different. It was less like becoming a famous actor and more like signing up for a temporary job where you might get eaten by a lion. Speaking of lions, the animal hunts or venations are another major part of the spectacle. You don't just have men fighting men. You have men fighting beasts and beasts fighting beasts. The emperors would spend enormous sums of money to import exotic animals from all over the known world. Lions from Africa, tigers from India, bears from Germania. It was a way of showing off the reach and power of the empire. Look, the games seem to say we can bring a lion from the ends of the earth just for your amusement. But it's not just the animals that are exotic. The people are too. Sometimes the Venationes would feature condemned criminals or prisoners of war forced to fight these wild beasts with nothing but a spear. You might have seen something like this last week, and you'll likely see it again next month. It's all part of the entertainment. The spectacle is so integral to Roman life that even the most mundane of activities can be tied back to it. You find yourself idly sketching a retiarius's net on a wall while you're waiting for your bread ration. It's just what you do. It's the language everyone understands. The power of the games, however, extends far beyond simple entertainment. The great academic debate of our time, one that historians still passionately argue about, is whether the games were a tool of social control or a genuine expression of Roman popular culture. Were the emperors simply manipulating the masses with these spectacles, or were they responding to a genuine, deep-seated demand from the people? Did the Romans love the games because they were forced to, or because they were an intrinsic part of their identity? You can't help but feel it's a bit of both. You're grateful for the distraction, but you also feel a thrill of genuine excitement when a good fight breaks out in the arena. You have a favorite gladiator, a Thraex named Spartacus. No, wait, that was another guy. Let's say you like Maximus. You like the way he moves, the way he fights, the way he stares down his opponents. He's not just a slave, he's a symbol of courage and defiance. And for a moment, as you watch him fight, you feel a little less like a commoner, and a little more like a hero yourself. The games aren't just about violence, though. That's certainly a big part of it. They're also about community. You go to the Colosseum with your family, your neighbors, your friends. You sit together, you cheer together, you gasp together. It's a shared experience that transcends social classes. The senator and the street vendor are all sitting under the same hot sun watching the same spectacle. It's a moment of strange, brutal unity. You feel the energy of the crowd, a single living organism, and you become a part of it. When a gladiator scores a particularly impressive blow, the roar of the crowd is deafening. You feel it in your chest and your bones. It's a powerful, intoxicating feeling. You find yourself yelling things you'd never say in your daily life, your inhibitions melting away in the shared passion of the moment. You're a part of the Roman machine, and the games are the engine that keeps it all running. But this unity is, of course, a carefully managed illusion. The seating in the Colosseum is strictly organized by social rank. You, as a member of the plebs, are relegated to the upper tiers, while the senators and equestrian class sit in the lower, more privileged seats. There's even a special section for the Vestal Virgins, I guess, to make sure they get a good view of the bloodshed for reasons I can't quite fathom. The emperor has his own private box, a place from which he can watch the proceedings in comfort, and from which he can give the final verdict on a defeated gladiator's life. Thumbs up or thumbs down? It's a question that has haunted 1,000 movies, but the reality, of course, is a bit more complicated. Historians aren't even sure if the thumbs up down thing is accurate. The gesture may have been a closed fist with an extended thumb, or perhaps the other way around. Either way, the power to decide life and death rests with the emperor, and you, the Roman citizen, are simply a spectator to the entire process. Your life is a constant cycle of work, food, and games. It's a rhythm you've become accustomed to. You work in the morning, you get your ration of grain from the state, and then you head to the public baths, maybe to the forum, and then, if you're lucky, you get a ticket to the games. The games aren't just for special occasions. They happen frequently, sometimes lasting for days, even weeks at a time. The emperor might sponsor a set of games to celebrate a military victory or a new public work, or even just his birthday. A powerful man might sponsor them to earn favor with the people and to get votes. Everything in Rome is political, and the games are the most visible form of political maneuvering there is. It's a way for a politician to say, "Look how much I love you, the people. Look at all the wonderful things I'm giving you." The games are his campaign slogan, his public relations, and his ultimate political tool, all rolled into one bloody package. The spectacles of Rome, from the chariots of the Circus Maximus to the gladiators of the Colosseum, are not just about entertainment. They're about power, about control, about the very fabric of Roman society. You are a part of that fabric, a single thread in a vast, brutal, and utterly captivating tapestry. You may not be a senator or a gladiator, but you are a Roman, and the games are a part of who you are. They are a reflection of your society's values, a symbol of its power, and a testament to its peculiar, almost bizarre relationship with violence and death. You've walked the streets, you've heard the cheers, you've seen the posters advertising the latest games. You know in your heart that the bread is important, but the circuses are what truly keep the city alive. The roar of the crowd is the heartbeat of Rome, a rhythm that you'll feel every day of your life. And tonight, as you drift off to sleep, you can still hear that distant echo of a cheer, a sound as ancient as the city itself. The journey has only just begun. You walk away from the deafening roar of the Colosseum, the sound fading behind you like a distant thunderstorm. The energy is still buzzing in your ears, a mix of adrenaline and a strange, guilty satisfaction. You saw a good fight today, a decisive victory, and you found yourself yelling with the crowd? Your voice just one part of the collective thunder. But as you turn down a side street, a different sound catches your attention, one that's a lot closer and a lot more chilling. It's the rhythmic clang of steel on wood, a kind of percussive beat that speaks of discipline and violence. This is the sound of a ludus, a gladiator school. And you realize that for every victorious gladiator you saw today, there are dozens, maybe hundreds more still in training, sweating and bleeding for a chance to stand where their comrades stood. You slow your pace as you pass the high windowless walls of a building. It's not a temple or a public bath, but a fortress of suffering and discipline. This is where men are made or unmade, and the air here smells of something primal. Sweat, old leather, and a faint coppery scent you instantly recognize as blood. You can hear the gruff shouts of a lanista, the owner and trainer, his voice a relentless stream of commands and insults. He's the man who holds the keys to life and death for the men inside the man who buys and sells them like cattle, but also the man who turns them into the heroes you cheer for. A common historical fact is that a lanista had complete authority over his gladiators, and his own social standing was deeply ambiguous. He was both a powerful businessman and an untouchable social outcast, trading in human lives. Imagine being a powerful CEO who everyone secretly thinks is disgusting, a strange mix of respect and revulsion. Inside, the reality is a far cry from the glory of the arena. You are, in a sense, a recruit yourself now, a Tiro, a fresh face brought into this grueling world. You're told you will endure to be burned, to be bound to be beaten, and to be killed by the sword. It's the sacramentum gladiatorium, the oath that binds you to your fate. It's a chillingly honest mission statement, a contract that lays out exactly what is expected of you. No fine print, no loopholes. Your body is no longer your own. It belongs to the ludus and its cruel master. Your days are a relentless cycle. You wake before dawn, your muscles already aching from the previous day's work. Your first meal is a thick gruel of barley and beans, a bland, unappealing meal that you force down. A funny thing about gladiators, a little-known detail you soon find out, is that you're affectionately called hordearii, or barley men, by the locals. Your diet is mostly vegetarian, heavy on carbohydrates. It's designed to build up a layer of fat, not for comfort or vanity, but for protection. That extra layer of subcutaneous fat is like biological padding, helping to absorb the blows from swords and spears and protect vital organs. It might not be the chiseled physique you'd expect, but it's a strategically brilliant one. Basically, your ancient Roman dad bod is your first line of defense. The other gladiators tell you it's the only six-pack that actually helps you survive. The training is brutal and monotonous. You spend hours in the ludus yard practicing with heavy wooden swords or rudis against a wooden pole called a palus. You practice the same block, the same thrust, the same feint over and over and over. Your arms feel like lead and the muscles in your shoulders burn with a fire that has nothing to do with glory. Your trainer, a grizzled veteran gladiator who survived long enough to earn his freedom, walks among you, correcting your form with a sharp jab to the ribs or a whip across your back. There's no mercy here, only efficiency. You are a tool, and a dull tool is useless. The goal isn't to make you a hero, it's to make you an effective fighter, a commodity that will generate a profit for the lanista. You're part of an economy of violence, and the only way to get a good return on the investment is for you to be as deadly as possible. The injuries are constant. You see men with broken noses, twisted ankles, and deep scars that have never quite healed. You yourself have a permanent lump on your forearm where a training sword hit you just wrong. It's the cost of doing business. The medical care is surprisingly advanced, though. You find a strange camaraderie with the camp doctor, a grim man who treats you with a detached professionalism that's both comforting and unsettling. He's good at what he does, patching you up just enough to get you back in the yard. His goal isn't to make you feel better, but to make you functional. You're just a set of statistics to him, a series of wounds to be mended, a body to be kept alive for the next fight. The entire ludus is a machine, a brutal factory, and you are just one cog in the works. You start to get to know the other gladiators. They're from all walks of life and all corners of the empire. There's a Gaul who lost a war and was sold into slavery, a Briton captured on campaign, even a few men who, for reasons you can't quite grasp, voluntarily signed up for this life. They're called octorati, and you look at them with a mix of respect and disbelief. Why would a free man choose this? You ask one of them, a man with haunted eyes named Gaius. He just shrugs and says, because the alternative was starvation, and you understand. In this life, the illusion of choice is a powerful drug. You eat together, you sleep in a communal barrack, you get punished together, and you all share the same quiet fear of what's to come. This shared experience forges a strange and powerful bond, a kind of brotherhood born not of blood but of suffering and shared uncertainty. You are a familia gladiatoria, a gladiator family, and you look out for one another. You'll fight your opponents with ruthless efficiency, but you'd never turn your back on one of your own. The days turn into weeks and the weeks into months. You get stronger, your body hardens, your reflexes sharpen. You learn to wield the gladius with deadly precision, to parry a blow with your shield, to anticipate your opponent's next move. You're no longer a tiro. You're a gladiator, a fighter, a warrior. Your name is written on a roster and you're assigned a fighting style. You might be a myrmillo with a large shield and a short sword, or a retroaus with a net and a trident, or maybe a secutor, the swift pursuer. Each style has its own strengths and weaknesses, its own strategies and tactics. And each style is designed to be paired with another for maximum entertainment value. A little like a video game with character classes, but with much higher stakes and no reset button. It's a very serious game of rock, paper, scissors, and you're the one who gets to be the scissors. But even with the new skills, you can't escape the reality of your life. An academic debate that historians still argue about is whether gladiators were more like prisoners or professional athletes. Were they just tools of the state, or did they have a complex social and professional identity? You feel like a bit of both. You have a skill, a profession, and a daily routine. You train, you eat, you sleep. But you're also a piece of property owned by the Lanesta with no rights, no freedom, and no control over your own destiny. You can be sold, traded, or killed at the whim of your owner or the crowd. The fact that you are a star does not make you a free man. Your fame is your gilded cage, and you can only look out through the bars at a world that worships you and yet would never accept you as one of their own. You start to get good. Your lanista notices. He starts giving you better food, a slightly cleaner corner in the barracks. You're a profitable commodity now, and he wants to protect his investment. You might even be chosen to participate in a small exhibition, a kind of pre-game show in a minor amphitheater. You feel the thrill of the crowd for the first time, a sound that is both intoxicating and terrifying. You're not fighting to the death yet, just putting on a show, but you know that the final test is coming. Your final test will be in a major arena in front of a roaring crowd, and the stakes will be your life. The Lanista tells you that fame is the only way out, but you can't help but feel that it's also the very thing that will get you killed. It's a cruel paradox, one you live with every single day. You see a former gladiator, a man who survived and earned his freedom. A man with a wooden sword, a rudis, which is the symbol of his freedom. He's teaching a new batch of recruits his back a roadmap of scars. You look at him and you think, is that my future? Or will I be another name on a tombstone, another memory in the minds of a fleeting crowd? The thought is both a motivator and a heavy burden. The brutality of your life is what makes you strong, but it's also what will eventually break you. There's a grim humor in the whole situation. You're a professional killer, and yet you're hoping your career doesn't take off too much, because a long career in your line of work is basically a statistical anomaly. The life of a gladiator is not the glorious fantasy you see in the public imagination. It's a daily grind of pain discipline and constant danger. You are a tool of the empire, a pawn in a larger game of politics and power. Your life is a public spectacle, but your existence is a private, isolated torment. You find a strange comfort in the routine and the sameness of the days because it's the only thing you can truly rely on. The clang of the swords, the shouts of the trainers, the smell of the blood and the sweat. This is your reality now. And as the sun sets on another day of training, you lie on your hard mat, your body exhausted, your mind replaying the day's drills, and you think of the Colosseum. And you know with a grim certainty that your day of reckoning will come soon. You just hope that when it does, your barley-fueled padding is up to the task. The day has finally come. The long, grueling months in the ludus have all been building to this moment. You don't walk to the Colosseum, you march. You're part of a procession of gladiators, your armor glinting in the morning sun, your face a blank mask of determination and dread. The noise of the city is different today, no longer a distant rumble, but a palpable roar that grows louder with every step you take. The streets are lined with people, a sea of faces, some cheering, some pointing, all of them looking at you, the spectacle, the future entertainment. You are a walking symbol of power and violence, a living embodiment of the ludi. You feel your heart hammering against your ribs, a frantic, desperate rhythm that's completely at odds with the slow, deliberate pace of your march. Your lanista walks beside you, his eyes scanning the crowd looking for a familiar face, a potential patron, or perhaps just to size up the atmosphere. He knows this is a big day, not just for you, but for his reputation and his purse. And then you see it. The Colosseum. It's not just a building, it's a mountain of stone and memory, a perfect, symmetrical circle of arches and shadow. It's so big it seems to warp the light around it, a testament to the might of Rome itself. It feels like the entire city has been built just to point at this one single structure. A common historical fact is that this magnificent amphitheater was built on the site of a drained lake that was part of the pleasure grounds of the tyrannical Emperor Nero's palace, the Domus Aurea. It was a conscious act by the Flavian emperors to return the land to the people and earn their favor using the very ground that was once a symbol of private excess to host a public spectacle of monumental proportions. It's the ultimate political move, turning a symbol of one man's greed into a monument to the people's entertainment, a brilliant act of historical rebranding. You are led not through the grand public arches, but through a smaller, unassuming gate, and you find yourself in the belly of the beast. The air changes instantly. It's cool and damp, thick with the smell of earth, stale animal waste, and 100 years of human despair. You're in the Hippodrome, the vast complex underground network beneath the arena floor. It's a labyrinth of tunnels and passages, a world of its own hidden from the light and the cheering crowds above. You can hear the low growl of unseen animals, the rattle of chains, and the shouts of handlers. It's a surreal, disorienting experience. You're so close to the roaring crowd, but you're in a different world entirely, a world of shadows and hidden mechanisms. You walk through a narrow passage brushing against the rough, cold stone walls. You see a complex network of ropes and pulleys, a massive winch system that looks like it belongs on a ship. This is the engine room of the Colosseum, the intricate machinery that powers the spectacle above. Little-known details about the Hippodrome are astounding. There were dozens of elevators and trapdoors, all designed to hoist animals and set pieces into the arena floor, creating a sense of surprise and wonder for the audience. Imagine a giant Roman-style elevator with a tiger in it, just waiting to pop out and give the crowd a good scare. It's a masterpiece of engineering designed for one purpose, only to make the show as thrilling as possible. The engineers who designed this place were geniuses of stagecraft, creating a special effects system that put Hollywood to shame. And it's all right here in the dark where no one can see it. You finally reach your antechamber, a small, cramped room with just a few other gladiators. This is where you wait in the final terrifying moments before your entrance. The tension is so thick you can feel it on your skin, a prickling sensation of cold sweat and anxiety. You check your armor one last time, the weight of the helmet a heavy promise of what's to come. You can hear the sounds from the arena above the roar of the crowd, the blare of a trumpet, the distant clash of swords. It's a soundtrack to your own impending doom, and you can't help but feel a little bit like you're waiting to go on stage for a play you didn't rehearse for with an audience that's only happy if you mess up. A quiet, grim joke passes between you and another gladiator about the fact that if you don't do well, you won't even have to worry about paying rent next month. And then the moment. The gate in front of you scrapes open with a horrifying sound, a mechanical groan of finality. A blinding golden light floods the tunnel, and you take a step forward. The sound hits you first. It's not a roar anymore, it's a solid physical wave of noise, a thunderous, continuous crescendo that feels like it's vibrating through your very bones. You step onto the fine yellow sand of the arena floor, and for a moment you are completely overwhelmed. The sun is a shock to your eyes. After the dark of the hippodrome and the light reflects off the pristine white marble of the seats, a thousand faces staring down at you. You can't make out individuals, only the collective, a massive screaming mass that has come to judge you. You raise your head and you see the emperor in his royal box, a small distant figure in purple and gold, but you know that he holds your fate in his hand. The fight begins not with a bang, but with a series of pre-show acts. There might be a short mock battle, a demonstration of fighting styles, but then it's just you and your opponent, face to face on the sand. The crowd for a moment falls into a stunned hush, an intake of breath before the madness begins. The fight itself is a blur of motion, a dance of death that you have rehearsed 1,000 times with a wooden sword. But this is no wooden sword. The weight of the metal is real, the feel of your shield deflecting a blow is real, and the smell of your opponent's sweat and the fear in his eyes are terrifyingly real. Every move is a choice between life and death. The cheers of the crowd surge and fall with every successful parry, every well-placed lunge. A joke pops into your head, an insane thought that you're so out of breath, you'd rather be back in the ludus doing drills. The academic debate about whether these fights were always to the death is a question that you as a gladiator don't have the luxury of contemplating. Historians still argue about the frequency of fatalities. While we in our modern world might see every gladiatorial fight ending in a thumbs-down death, the reality was likely more nuanced. A skilled, famous gladiator was a valuable commodity, and the Lanasta had invested a lot of money in your training and maintenance. You weren't just a throwaway piece of meat. There were rules, referees, summarudis, and opportunities for surrender. A gladiator could concede defeat, raising a finger to signal his plea for mercy, and his fate was then left to the whim of the crowd and ultimately the emperor. But you can't afford to think about that. You can't afford to get distracted. Your only thought is survival. You fight. You block, you lunge, you parry. You step your mind a whirlwind of instinct and training. You hear the crowd's reaction to your every move, their collective mood, swaying between bloodlust and admiration. They want a good fight, but they also want to see a decisive end. And then it happens. A moment of weakness, a single misjudged step, and your opponent's sword finds its mark. It's not a fatal blow, just a deep cut to your thigh, but it's enough. You stumble and you fall to one knee. The crowd erupts a great hungry roar that washes over you. You are defeated. You raise a finger, a plea for mercy, your eyes searching the stands for the emperor's box. The fate of your life, the result of your entire life's training, now rests on the whim of a single powerful man. You can feel the eyes of 70,000 people on you, all of them waiting, all of them judging. It's the ultimate moment of public scrutiny, and you are its helpless centerpiece. The Colosseum, with all its majesty and all its terror, is not a place for heroes. It's a stage for a single brutal question: will you live or will you die? The answer is not in your hands, but in the hands of the very people who came to watch you bleed. And as you kneel in the sand, you feel the warm blood running down your leg, and you watch the emperor's hand. Your life a single simple gesture away from being over. You can only wait. A wave of relief so powerful it almost makes you faint washes over you as you see it. It's not the emperor's thumb down, it's the thumb up. Your life is spared. The crowd, which just moments ago was a ravenous beast demanding your blood, erupts in a new kind of cheer. It's a roar of approval, a sign that you fought well and earned your right to live another day. Two men in white togas, medics from the ludus attached to the Colosseum, rush over to you. They pull you up supporting your wounded leg. They are not gentle, but they are efficient. You're a piece of property that needs to be fixed, and they are here to do just that. They carry you off the sand, and the last thing you see before the dark of the tunnel swallows you is the blinding sun and the shimmering distant faces of the crowd. A crowd that decided for now that you get to live. You are not taken back to the harsh barracks of the ludus not right away. You are taken to a special medical wing beneath the stands, a place with clean beds and a surprising number of jars filled with strange-smelling ointments. The medics are skilled, and your wound is treated with a detached professional precision. The barley-induced fat layer you've worked so hard to build up proved its worth, cushioning the blow and keeping the worst of the damage from your bone. You're lucky, you're told. You're valuable. Your lanista will be pleased. As you lie there, a throbbing pain in your leg, you can still hear the distant sounds of the games above you. The clash of swords, the roar of the crowd, the final chilling silence before the verdict. But now it's just noise, a soundtrack to your own personal moment of reprieve. From this new semi-private vantage point, you begin to understand that gladiator fights are only one piece of the vast, intricate puzzle that is Roman entertainment. The city, you learn, offers much more than just man-on-man combat. The most popular spectacle of all, you're told by a medic as he bandages your leg, is not the Colosseum, but the Circus Maximus. A common historical fact about the Circus Maximus is that it was an impossibly vast arena, a sprawling, elongated track that could hold over 150,000 spectators at a time. It was the ancient world's version of a Super Bowl stadium, a place where passions ran higher and the races were faster than you could possibly imagine. While your gladiator battles were for the glory of a few, the Circus Maximus was for the passion of the many. It was an addiction for the entire city, an obsession that ran so deep it could tear families apart. You hear about the four major factions: the Reds, the Whites, the Blues, and the Greens. They are the racing teams, and allegiance to one of them is a matter of life and death, more important to some than even their political affiliations. People paint their houses in their faction's color. They get tattoos of their favorite charioteers, and they will fight in the streets over a disputed race. It's a fan culture that feels eerily modern, a tribalism, based on the colors of your favorite sports team. The medic laughs a dry, cynical sound and tells you it's the only thing that unites the people of Rome. A senator will argue with a common laborer over a race. He says, but they'll never see eye to eye on the price of bread. The charioteers themselves, you learn, are a completely different breed of celebrity than gladiators. While you're a slave who can become famous, they are often slaves who can become incredibly wealthy and even free. They're the superstars, the rock stars of their day. A little-known detail about these charioteers is that the most successful ones, like a man named Gaius Appuleius Diocles, earned enough money to retire as some of the richest men in the entire empire. They were like the ancient equivalent of a multi-millionaire football player, and yet their profession was just as if not more dangerous than yours. The races were a chaotic, high-speed ballet of destruction, with teams of 4 horses pulling a light, flimsy chariot at breakneck speeds. The riders would wrap the reins around their waist to get a better grip, but it meant that if they fell, they could be dragged behind their horses, a terrifying and gruesome end. A chariot race was basically a series of very expensive, very dramatic car crashes. As your leg slowly starts to heal, you start to hear about other spectacles, the ones that fill the schedule when the games aren't on. Your lanista comes by and gives you a small, approving nod. "You fought well," he says. "We'll have you back in the arena in a month. But for now, you rest. We have other business to attend to." You learn that the morning shows are often reserved for venationes, the wild animal hunts, or for damnatio ad bestias, the public executions. You don't get to see these, but you hear the distant sounds, the roar of the lions, the cries of the condemned. You're told that these executions aren't just for punishment. They're a theatrical display of the state's power. It's a gruesome public sermon about the futility of breaking Roman law. The academic debate that historians still have about these executions is whether they were purely for entertainment or if they had a deeper social and legal function. Were they just to satisfy a crowd's bloodlust, or were they a necessary part of the Roman justice system, a way to publicly demonstrate the consequences of crime and reinforce the social order? You lying in bed can't help but think it's a bit of both. You hear the final cry of a condemned man, and you know it's meant to be a warning to you to everyone. It's a lesson in what happens when you stray from the path a chilling performance, with a very real ending. The Romans are nothing if not practical, and the idea of combining a show with a legal requirement is a very Roman solution, a kind of dinner and a movie, but the dinner is your life and the movie is your death. You're a gladiator, a survivor, a man who has stared death in the face and walked away. You've now seen the full breadth of Roman entertainment, not just the part that concerns you. You've heard about the high-speed races that hold the city in thrall, and you've heard the chilling sounds of the executions that reinforce the power of the state. It's a world built on spectacle, a place where people don't just work and live, they consume and they watch. The games in all their different forms are the engine that keeps this vast, strange machine running. You were just a piece of that machine, a single cog in a massive, brutal engine. But now you're a survivor, and that makes you special. You have a chance to not just be a spectacle, but to be a story, a rare and valuable commodity in a city that values both. As you drift off to sleep, your leg throbbing with a dull ache, you can still hear the far-off roar of the crowd, and you wonder what story they'll write for you next. Your leg has mended the deep cut now, just a long red scar, a personal mark of your first victory. You are back in the ludus, but something is different. The food is a bit better, the training a bit less brutal, and the lanista looks at you with a new calculating expression. You are no longer just a recruit, a commodity of uncertain value. You are a survivor. You are a winner, and that makes you a brand. It's a strange feeling, like getting a promotion at the world's most dangerous job. You can't help but laugh at the irony. You've been doing the same brutal work, but now that you've proven you're good at it, you're treated with slightly more dignity, as if your excellence at killing has somehow made you a better person. This newfound status comes with a strange form of celebrity. When you are on your way to the training yard, you notice a few of the younger recruits looking at you with a mix of awe and terror. They know who you are. They saw you fight, saw you survive. You are a story now, a legend in the making, and you feel the weight of their expectations on your shoulders. You see a few boys on the street trying to get a look at you, their eyes wide with excitement. A common historical fact is that gladiators were the superstars of their day, their faces appearing on graffiti mosaics and everyday objects like oil lamps and pottery. You are the ancient equivalent of a sports hero. Your face on a figurine that some kid plays with at home, a chilling form of immortality. People even named their children after famous gladiators. You are a pop culture icon, but a very, very temporary one. But this fame is a cruel joke, a kind of gilded cage. A little-known detail about gladiators is that they were considered infames under Roman law. This meant they were legally and socially stripped of their rights. You, the hero of the crowd, the subject of gossip, and the inspiration for pottery, cannot vote. You cannot be a witness in court. You cannot hold public office. Your social status is lower than that of a common slave. You are an object, a spectacle, a piece of living property, and no amount of cheering from the crowd can change that. Your fame doesn't buy you freedom. It buys you more fights. Your success on the sand doesn't give you civil rights. It just makes you more valuable to the man who owns you. It's a paradox, a walking contradiction. You are adored by the masses, but despised by the legal system, a man with no rights, but an almost unlimited number of fans. The academic debate that historians still passionately argue about is this very paradox. Were gladiators seen as heroic figures who transcended their low social status through skill and bravery? Or were they perpetually marginalized and objectified as commodities, no matter how famous they became? From your new perspective, you feel it's a bit of both, a brutal duality. You feel the genuine respect of the other gladiators, a brotherhood forged in the fires of the ludus. You feel the adoration of the cheering crowd, a powerful, intoxicating force that makes your blood sing. But you also feel the cold, detached gaze of your lanista who sees you as a dollar sign, and you feel the dehumanizing reality of the infamia. You are a person to some, an object to others, and a symbol to all. You live your life on a fault line between these conflicting realities. Your life is a public spectacle, but your existence is a private torment. The cheers of the crowd are a fleeting sound, but the constant hum of the ludus, the constant training, the constant ache in your muscles is your reality. Your lanista begins to push you harder to prepare you for a more important opponent, a higher profile fight. He knows that your value is at its peak right now, and he wants to capitalize on it. He tells you that your fame is your only hope for survival, that if you're famous enough, the crowd will save you from the emperor's thumb. It's a powerful motivator, a whisper of a promise that a long, successful career could lead to a rare and valuable prize, the Rudy the Wooden Sword, that signifies your freedom. The promise is a cruel one because you know that a long career in your line of work is less a career and more a miracle. You start to train with a different intensity, a different kind of purpose. You're not just fighting to survive, you're fighting for your freedom. You're fighting to one day maybe walk away from all of this. You hear stories of the greats, the men who earned their freedom and lived to tell the tale. They are the gladiatorial legends, the ones whose names are whispered with reverence and awe. They are proof that it is possible, but they are also a grim reminder of how many men died trying. You start to see yourself not just as a gladiator, but as a contender, a man who has a chance, however small, to change his fate. You are still a slave, still owned, but you are also a fighter, and your mind is the one thing they can't take from you. The fame and the money for a gladiator are all for the benefit of your master. The victories, the cheers, the glory, it all goes to him. You get a little more food, a little more comfort, but you will never truly own anything of value. Your life is an endless loop of training, fighting, and waiting, all for the benefit of a man who sees you as nothing more than an asset. It's like working at a job where you're the most valuable employee, but you get paid nothing and you can't quit. And the only way out is to earn enough money for your boss that he'll let you go, which is an absurd and terrifying proposition. And yet you are a hero. The people love you. They'll argue over your fighting style, they'll defend your honor, they'll cheer for your life. And when you walk into the arena, you feel that love, that energy, that powerful collective will to see you succeed. It's a dizzying, confusing feeling, a strange mix of power and powerlessness. You are the center of attention, the star of the show, but you are also just a piece of a spectacle, a man who has sold his life for a moment of glory. You are the ultimate tragic hero, a man who lives and dies for the entertainment of others, a man who is both a legend and a nobody, a person and a piece of property. As you finish your training for the day, you look at the other gladiators, your brothers in arms. You are all a part of this strange, brutal family united by your shared fate. You are all heroes and you are all slaves. You are all here because of a choice or a lack of one. And you are all waiting for your chance to either die with honor or to live with a wooden sword in your hand. The city of Rome needs its heroes, and tonight as you drift off to sleep, you know that you are one of them, for better or for worse. Your next fight is already being advertised, your name in bold letters, and the city is waiting to see if its new hero can keep on winning. You're back in the arena, but this time it feels different. The blinding sun, the white sand, the cacophony of the crowd, it's all familiar, but you are not the same man. You are no longer a frightened recruit, you are a veteran. You've walked this path before and you know what to expect. Or at least you think you do. The crowd, however, is a different beast entirely. It's not a collection of individuals anymore. It's a single living organism with its own singular will, and that will is a terrifying and fickle one. The sound of their roar is not just noise. It's a physical force, a tidal wave of sound that washes over you and makes your hair stand on end. They have come to see blood, and you are either a source of that blood or a deliverer of it. You look up into the stands trying to make out faces, but they're just a blur of light and color. They are a collective, and in that collective, they are fearless. A common historical fact is that the crowd's presence created a powerful anonymity, allowing people to yell for death and revel in a level of cruelty they might never have expressed as individuals. It's a form of mob mentality, a kind of ancient peer pressure where the most bloodthirsty person in the stadium wins. You feel it, a chilling collective energy that makes a simple mistake, a potentially fatal one. You could be fighting your opponent with skill and grace, but a single stumble or a single moment of weakness could turn the crowd against you, their hunger for entertainment, overriding any appreciation for a fair fight. It's like a sports game where the audience can change the rules just because they're bored. The fight begins, and you feel the crowd's attention on you like a physical weight. Every parry, every lunge, every bit of footwork is met with a roar of approval or a sigh of disappointment. They are a judge and jury, and they are in a very, very bad mood. Your opponent is a Thraex, a fighter with a curved sword and a small round shield. He's good, fast, and agile, and the fight is a display of skill, a dance of death. You feel a strange sense of detachment as if you're watching yourself from a distance. The only thing that matters is the fight, the clang of steel on steel, the feel of the sand under your feet. Everything else, all the noise and all the people, fades away, and then one of you falls. It's your opponent, a misstep, a blow to the knee, and he's on the ground, his sword out of reach. The crowd erupts a great hungry roar, and their will becomes a tangible thing. You look at them and you can see their hands raised 1,000 gestures of life and death, all of them turned to you. A little-known detail that still has historians arguing is what exactly the signal for life or death was. The famous thumbs down of the movies, the pollice verso, is actually a source of major debate. Some scholars believe the gesture for death was a thumb turned up, or to the side symbolizing the sword plunged into the chest, while a closed fist with a thumb inside meant mercy. You, however, don't care about the academic debate. You just know that a simple gesture from the crowd is the difference between life and death. The man on the ground looks at you, his eyes wide with a plea, but your own fate is not in your hands. The academic debate about the crowd's role goes to the very heart of Roman culture. Were the spectators genuinely bloodthirsty? Or was their thirst for blood a ritualized performative act? Did they truly crave death, or was it a form of communal release, a way to experience the brutality of their world from a safe distance? From your perspective on the sand, it feels very, very real. The roar is not a performance, it's a demand. It's a collective, unspoken need to see the ultimate act of violence, to see a life ended by the will of the people. And you realize with a chilling clarity that this is the real purpose of the games. They are not just for entertainment. They are a ritual of death, a sacrifice to the gods of violence and power. The crowd in this moment is not a collection of people. It is a single brutal god. You look at the editor, the sponsor of the games, sitting in a private box. He's a powerful man, a politician who has spent a fortune on this spectacle to curry favor with the crowd. He has to balance his investment in you. You are a valuable, famous gladiator with the crowd's demand for a good show. He looks at the emperor, but he also looks at the crowd, and you can see him weighing the options in his head. The decision is ultimately the emperor's, but the crowd's opinion is a powerful force that even an emperor can't ignore. You understand now that the games are a delicate dance between power politics and the people's desire for blood. It's a very weird, ancient form of public relations where you just hope that the PR director and the CEO have your best interests at heart. In the end, your opponent is granted mercy. The crowd is appeased. They saw a good fight, they saw a display of skill, and they decided that they want to see him fight again. You feel a wave of relief, not just for him, but for yourself. You survived this dance with the crowd, and you know with a deep certainty that they are the most dangerous opponent you will ever face. They have all the power and none of the risk, a terrifying combination. They are a mob and you are a man, and the difference between the two is that they can kill you and you can't. You're a hero to them in the same way a matador is a hero to a bullfighting crowd. They love the spectacle of your struggle, but they would be just as happy to see you get gored. It's a strange kind of love, one that's based entirely on your willingness to suffer for their amusement. As you walk out of the arena, the crowd roars its approval. You are a winner. You are a hero. But you know the truth. You are a survivor, a man who has managed to escape the ultimate judgment of the mob. You feel their eyes on your back as you walk away, and you know that they will be back and they will want more. The hunger of the crowd is insatiable, and your only hope is to give them just enough to keep them happy, but not so much that they demand your life. And tonight, as you drift off to sleep in your slightly less cramped barracks, you can still feel the weight of their gaze on you, a chilling reminder that your life is not your own but a public spectacle, and the show, no matter what you do, must go on. You are a hero, a winner. a man who has stared down an opponent and lived to tell the tale. The roar of the crowd is now a familiar sound, a kind of background music to your new famous life. But one morning, your Lanista comes to you with a new assignment, a different kind of spectacle. You're not fighting a man today, you're fighting the wild. You're told you are going to participate in a Venatio, a staged animal hunt, and your blood runs cold. You feel a strange sense of unease. You know how to fight a man. A man has a plan, a strategy, a code of honor, however brutal. An animal just has instinct. And as you're led back down into the dark, damp passages of the hippodrome, you feel that familiar dread. But this time it's mingled with a primal fear you've never known before. The air in the underground is different this morning. The usual smells of sweat and fear are replaced by a more pungent, more feral scent. You can hear it now, the deep guttural growl of a lion, the snarl of a bear, the nervous stamp of a dozen other hooves. The Hypogeum is no longer just a backstage area for gladiators. It's a temporary prison for the beasts of 100 different lands. It's a chaotic, noisy mess, and you feel a strange sense of vertigo as you realize that the same ramps and pulleys that bring you to the surface will soon be used to hoist a hungry predator. A common historical fact is that these staged hunts were a colossal and expensive display of Roman power, a way to show off the empire's vast reach and its ability to conquer nature itself. It's like Rome is a global collector, and they've brought the most dangerous specimens from every corner of the world just for your entertainment. It's a kind of ancient, terrifying zoo where the animals are not just on display, but are the main event and you're a part of the show. The logistics of these hunts are a marvel of cruelty and organization. A little-known detail is the incredible supply chain that had to exist to get these exotic animals to Rome. They were captured in the far reaches of the empire, lions from North Africa, bears from Germania, leopards from the Middle East. They were then transported on ships and cages over thousands of miles, a massive and expensive operation that often resulted in the death of the animals from stress, starvation, or injury. This was a testament to the empire's wealth and power, but also to its insatiable appetite for spectacle. And as you wait in the dark, you can't help but feel a strange, grim kinship with the caged beast. It too has been brought here against its will to perform for a crowd that has no idea of the journey it took to get here. Your role in the Venatio is a bit different from a condemned criminal's. You are a professional, a skilled fighter, and you're given a spear and a shield. You are a bestiarius, a specialized animal fighter, and you are here to put on a show. But the other fighters, the ones with a blank, terrified look in their eyes, are not so lucky. They are condemned criminals, and their role is not to fight, but to die. This is the damnatio ad bestias, the punishment by wild beasts. You watch as a man, a look of pure, unadulterated terror on his face, is led to a small trap door. You hear the roar of the crowd above a sound that is less of a cheer and more of a ravenous hunger. A joke pops into your head, a grim one at least. Your gladiator opponent had a sword and was bound by a code. The wild animal just wants to rip your throat out. The academic debate that historians still argue about is the very purpose of these spectacles. Were the Roman crowds truly entertained by the sheer brutality of it all? Or was it a ritualized display, a symbolic act of man's dominion over the wild, and of Rome's power over the natural world? From your perspective, it's a terrifying mix of both. You hear the crowds roar, and it's not a cheer for a graceful maneuver. It's a horrified gasp of excitement, a collective thrill at seeing a man's life hang by a thread. The spectators aren't just watching, they are participating in a cruel ritual. And you, the professional, are a part of that ritual, a cog in a larger machine that is designed to bring the world's most dangerous creatures to the center of the world's greatest city and kill them for fun. The fight itself is a brutal, chaotic blur. A snarling lion is hoisted up from the hypogem, its confused roar turning to a blood-curdling shriek as it takes in the sight of the crowd. It's a magnificent beast, its muscles coiled and ready, and it's 1,000 times more dangerous than any man you've ever fought. It doesn't feint, it doesn't parry. It just attacks with a terrifying single-minded focus. You use your spear to keep it at bay, to wear it down, to force it to tire itself out. The crowd loves it, of course. They love the danger, they love the raw, unbridled violence of it all. You can hear their shouts, their screams, and you feel the same way they do. a strange mix of terror and fascination. After the hunt, the bodies are dragged away, the blood is covered with a fresh layer of sand, and the show goes on. You're exhausted, your muscles aching, your mind reeling. You are a survivor, but you're also just an entertainer. You've killed a man, and now you've killed an animal. Your value to your lanista has just gone up, your reputation as a fighter has just been cemented, and all you can think about is how tired you are. It's a strange, grim existence, and you feel a new, unsettling understanding of the brutality of your world. You are not just a gladiator. You are a showman, and your performance requires you to be willing to kill for the amusement of others, no matter who or what your opponent is. As you head back to the ludus, you think of the lion. It was a beautiful, powerful animal, and it died for no reason other than to entertain a crowd of people. You feel a strange sense of empathy for the beast. You both came from far away. You were both forced into a life you didn't choose, and you were both used for the amusement of others. The only difference is that you, a man, have a chance to one day walk away from it all. And as you fall into your cot, you think of the lion, and you hope that its death was at least a spectacle worth watching. Your fame has opened new doors, but they are not doors to freedom. They are doors to the next level of the game, a game far more dangerous and complex than anything you faced on the sand. You are a valuable asset now, and your value is not just in your ability to kill, but in your ability to be a political tool. Your lanista is in talks with powerful men who want to use you to curry favor with the crowd. And one morning you get the chilling news you are going to fight in a spectacle sponsored by the emperor himself. The stakes have just been raised from your life to the very political stability of the empire. You feel a new, unsettling pressure. This is not just a fight. It's a performance for the most powerful man in the world, a man who sees you not as a person, but as a symbol of his own power. He is the master of the Roman universe, and the games are his stage. A common historical fact is that the games were a central part of the emperor's public relations strategy, a way to directly communicate with the masses and to assert their authority. It's the ultimate form of ancient political theater where the emperor is the director and you, the gladiator, are his most important actor. The games are a way for him to say, "Look how powerful I am. I can bring the wild to the city, I can decide who lives and who dies, and I can give you the entertainment you crave all with a single gesture." You find yourself in an exhibition for the current emperor, a man who, like all of his predecessors, has a very specific relationship with the games. You hear stories about the emperors of the past, men who use the games in very different ways. You hear about Caligula, a man who was so obsessed with the games that he allegedly tried to make his favorite horse, Incitatus, a senator. He was a tyrant, but a very popular one, and he was a passionate supporter of the Greens, one of the main factions in the chariot races. A little-known detail is that his fanatical support for the Greens was a way for him to create a sense of solidarity with the common people. He wasn't just an emperor, he was a fan just like them. It was a bizarre, brilliant way to bridge the chasm between the ruler and the ruled, to make himself seem relatable even as he was exercising absolute power. It's the ultimate form of political fandom, and it's a terrifyingly effective one. You also hear about Nero, a man so consumed with his love for the arts that he famously performed in the games himself. He wasn't a gladiator, but he was a performer, and he sang and played the lyre in the Circus Maximus, a scandal for a Roman emperor. The games for him were less a political tool and more a personal stage, a way for him to indulge in his own artistic ambitions. The spectacle in his hands became a kind of performance art, a bizarre, self-aggrandizing show that was less about the people and more about his own ego. It's a hilarious, absurd detail that shows the utter power of the emperor, a power that allowed him to make the entire Roman Empire watch him sing and pretend it was a good thing. A truly terrible performance review for a powerful man would just be silence, but with an emperor you have to cheer and throw flowers. It's a very high-stakes version of giving a standing ovation to your boss's terrible karaoke night. The academic debate that historians still argue about is the true effectiveness of the games as a tool of social control. Did they really distract the masses from their political powerlessness? Or did they simply provide a temporary outlet for frustration? From your position on the sand, it feels like it's both. You see the faces in the crowd and you see their genuine passion for the spectacle. They are fully invested in the games, and for a few hours they are not thinking about the high price of bread or the corruption of the senators. But you also know that their passions are being manipulated, that their roar is a sound that the emperor can turn on and off with a simple gesture. The games are a kind of sedative, a carefully administered dose of entertainment designed to keep the patient docile. And you, the gladiator, are the needle. Your fight is a part of this grand political show. Your opponent is a veteran, a skilled fighter, and the two of you put on a display of strength and skill. The crowd roars its approval and you can feel their energy, but you are not fighting for them. You are fighting for him, for the emperor, a man who sits in a quiet, elevated box, his face impassive, his eyes watching every move. Your life is no longer just your own. It's a political statement. Your victory is his victory, a symbol of his power and his generosity. Your death, on the other hand, would be a symbol of his ruthlessness, his willingness to sacrifice even his best performers for the greater good of the spectacle. It's a very strange kind of career path, one that requires you to be a master killer and a master politician at the same time. The spectacle is a testament to the emperor's power. He doesn't just provide games, he provides a show on a scale that's unimaginable to a common person. He can order 100 lions to be killed in a single day, or he can stage a mock naval battle in the arena, a testament to his control over both land and sea. He can throw coins into the crowd, a shower of gold that makes the people love him, and makes them forget that he is a man who holds their life and death in his hand. It's a kind of performance art that's both beautiful and terrifying, a celebration of power and a reminder of its brutality. The show is always the most important thing, and you, the gladiator, are part of that show, a living prop in a drama that's far bigger than you. You're a famous gladiator, and you are a part of this grand show. Your fame has bought you a seat at the table, but it's a seat where you are both the guest of honor and the main course. The games are a tool of manipulation, a way for the powerful to distract the masses from the political realities of their lives. And you, the gladiator, are the most important part of that tool. You are a symbol of courage, a symbol of strength, and a symbol of the very thing that the emperor wants to control the people's emotions. You are a hero, but you are a hero who has to perform for his very survival, a man who has to win the crowd's approval to win his life. And as you walk out of the arena, a winner once again, you can't help but feel that you have not just survived a fight, but you have also survived a political chess match. A match where your life was the most valuable piece on the board. You have now survived your fifth major fight. You are a known name, a legend in the making. The crowds roar for you. The Lanasta protects you, and your name is whispered in the streets. You have seen the political machinations of the emperors, and you have fought beasts from the far corners of the empire. But as you train, a new unsettling thought begins to take root in your mind. The games are not just an event. They are a mirror, a reflection of the society that created them. You, the gladiator, are a living, breathing embodiment of the Roman world, its virtues, and its terrible, dark vices. You are a reflection of their soul. You see it in the way the games are organized. A common historical fact is that the seating in the Colosseum and other amphitheaters was strictly segregated by social class. The senators and high-ranking officials had the best seats at the front, followed by the wealthy equestrian class, then the military, and finally you, the common people, in the nosebleed section. Even at the grandest show on earth, you were reminded of your place in the social order. It was a kind of unspoken agreement, a visual reinforcement of the hierarchy that governed every aspect of your life. The games were a communal event that celebrated Roman unity, but they were also a constant, brutal reminder that not all Romans were created equal. The games reflect the core values of Roman society. They value strength, discipline, and a willingness to face death with honor. The gladiator, in his or her struggle, embodies these values. It's a kind of grim living sermon about what it takes to be a Roman in this world. The empire was built on conquest and power, and the games are a constant bloody celebration of that fact. The men you fight, the animals you kill, are all symbols of that conquest. They are the barbarians, the outsiders, the wild things that the empire has brought to heel. Your battles are not just fights. They are a reenactment of the empire's triumphs, a microcosm of its grand, bloody history. You're basically a method actor in a very, very serious historical reenactment. The games also serve a darker, more psychological purpose. A little-known detail is that the public display of violence could serve as a release valve for the pent-up aggressions and frustrations of the populace. Life in Rome was hard. It was noisy, crowded, and filled with poverty and disease. The games provided a safe, sanctioned outlet for the violent impulses that could otherwise destabilize society. The cheers of the crowd, the shared frenzy, and the collective experience of watching blood spilled on the sand. It was a cathartic experience, a way for people to feel a sense of power and control in a world where they had very little of either. It was a genius, terrible idea, a kind of ancient anger management class where the final exam was a sword fight to the death. The academic debate that historians still argue about is whether the games were a symptom of a brutal society or if they were an active cause of it. Did the Roman people have a taste for violence, or did the games create that taste? From your perspective, you feel like it's a bit of both. You've seen men who would never harm a fly in their daily lives cheer for a brutal death in the arena. You've seen women, children even look on with a terrifying mix of fascination and excitement. The line between entertainment and public brutality has been completely blurred. You can't help but wonder if the constant exposure to violence in the arena makes them more accepting of it in their daily lives, if it numbs them to the suffering of others. The games are a kind of cultural virus, and they seem to be making the whole society sicker. Your role in this is a strange and unsettling one. You are a symbol of courage and strength, but you are a slave. You are a hero, but you are also an outcast stripped of all civil rights. Your very existence highlights the deep hypocrisy of the Roman system. It's a society that celebrates honor and strength, but denies it to the very people who embody it. You are a living paradox, a man who is both an idol and a piece of property, a hero to the crowd, but an object to the law. You are a part of a beautiful, terrifying machine, and you are both its engine and its most disposable part. The most confusing part of your job description is the fact that you're a national hero, but also a second-class citizen. It's a truly messed up business model. The games were a reflection of the Roman world, a mirror in which the society could see itself. They were a celebration of its power, its strength, and its discipline. But they were also a chilling reminder of its cruelty, its hypocrisy, and its insatiable thirst for blood. You have seen it all now, from the brutal training in the ludus to the political theater of the emperor's box. You have felt the roar of the crowd, the touch of a blade, and the cold reality of being a pawn in a game far bigger than yourself. You are a part of this story, a part of this legacy, and your survival is a testament to the fact that even in the most brutal of worlds, there can be a glimmer of hope. The years have passed. The scar on your leg, once a sharp red mark of your first victory, has faded to a pale line, a whisper of a memory. You are no longer just a winner. You are a legend. Your face is known in every corner of the city. You've fought in countless matches, survived countless perils, and your name is a byword for courage and skill. You have earned your freedom, the wooden sword, the rudis in your hand, a symbol of your final, most important victory. You are a free man, but you are a man of a world that is beginning to fade. You start to notice subtle shifts, changes in the air, a different rhythm to the city's heart. The roar of the crowd, once a constant, deafening sound, is a bit more muted now. The games still happen, but something is different. You see it in the Emperor's eyes, a new kind of wariness. You hear it in the whispers on the street about a new sect, the Christians, who worship a single humble God and who oppose the violence of the games. They are a growing force, and their new moral code is fundamentally at odds with the very spectacle that has defined your life. A common historical fact is that as Christianity grew in power and influence, its moral opposition to the games became a major factor in their decline. When the Emperor Constantine embraced Christianity in the 4th century, he made the first official moves to ban gladiatorial combat, a shocking move in a world that had known nothing else. It's like a world-famous beloved sport suddenly being declared illegal, a kind of cultural earthquake that no one thought was possible. The games continue for a while, a kind of dying ritual. The crowds are not as large, the venaciones not as extravagant. The blood that once seemed to be the lifeblood of the city is now seen by many as a stain, a moral failing. You, the old gladiator, a free man, now sometimes go back to the Colosseum not to fight, but to watch. You sit high in the stands, a common man once again, and you feel a strange sense of detachment. The fights are still brutal, but they seem to lack the same passion, the same frenzied energy. The crowd's roar is not as hungry. It's more of a low hum, a sad echo of a sound that once shook the very foundations of the city. The final end comes not with a bang, but with a whimper. The last official gladiator games are held in the early 5th century. A little-known detail that has passed into legend is the story of a monk named Telemachus. He was a holy man from the East who came to Rome and was so horrified by the violence that he ran into the middle of the arena to try to stop a fight. The crowd in their fury and confusion stoned him to death, their bloodlust, turning on a man who preached peace. But his death, it is said, was the final straw. The Emperor Honorius, horrified by the senseless act, finally banned the games for good. It was a tragic final scene for a tradition built on tragedy, a bloody end to a spectacle of blood. You can't help but think that a final grand bloody moment was the only way this whole thing could have ever ended. After that, the Colosseum, your home, and your prison falls silent. The roar is gone, the sand lies still, and the trapdoors in the hippodrome no longer open for man or beast. The great amphitheater, once a symbol of Roman might, becomes a quarry for stone, its marble stripped away to build new churches and palaces. Its arches become shelter for the poor, and its walls become home to 100 different birds. The great show is over, and the stage is left to decay, a lonely, echoing shell of its former glory. The city has moved on, and you, the old gladiator, a relic of a time gone by, are a living testament to that fact. You survived, but the world you survived for no longer exists. The academic debate that historians still argue about is the true reason for the game's end. Was it the moral pressure of Christianity, the economic decline of the empire, or simply a shift in public taste? From your perspective, you feel it was a bit of all three. A powerful moral code, a society that could no longer afford such lavish spectacles, and a people who were just getting tired of the same old show? It's a sad, quiet ending for something that was so loud and so violent. The roar has been replaced by silence and the glory by dust. You are an old man now, your body a roadmap of scars, your mind a museum of memories. You sometimes walk by the Colosseum, a ghost, haunting a ghost. You remember the roar, the heat, the feel of the sand under your feet. You remember the face of your opponent, the look in the emperor's eye, and the power of the crowd. The games are gone, but their legacy lives on in the stories in the ruins, and in the strange, indelible mark they left on the very soul of the city. They were brutal, they were bloody, and they were a testament to a world that was both magnificent and monstrous. And you, the gladiator, were there for all of it. And as you walk away, the sun setting on the great silent stones, you know that your story is finally over.